Hello again, my DIY loving friends, and welcome to Medicated Housewife DIY, where crafting and mental health come together. It's time to DIY and transform your everyday space into a high-end oasis on a budget. Discover mind-blowing DIYs using Dollar Tree items in this video. From cheap to chic, learn how to create stunning decor pieces that will elevate your home without breaking the bank. Watch now and be inspired to create your own stunning high-end decor. So let's go DIY together. For this first DIY, I am using a 2-piece metal stovetop cover set from Dollar Tree and 3 tumbling tower blocks also from Dollar Tree. And these 3 jumbo Jenga blocks from Five Below. One of them is stained, but I will be painting them all, so it doesn't matter. I'm spray painting both the blocks and the metal covers with this Rust-Oleum Bright Shiny Gold, which I will link for you in the description box below. Once the paint is dry, all I'm going to do is I turn the metal covers over, and I'm starting with the smaller cover. I position my 3 tumbling tower blocks with the skinny side facing out, eyeballing them to be equal distance apart, and once I'm happy with that position, I use this E6000 glue, which I will link for you below, to glue them into place on the bottom of the metal cover. Then I do the exact same thing, gluing those Five Below jumbo Jenga blocks into place on the bottom of that larger size metal cover, also with the skinny side of the block facing outwards. Then I'm going to let both of these totally dry overnight. And that is literally all there is to these 2 gorgeous gold modern looking trays. I love the way these trays look, either as a centerpiece or as decor in a living room, or really wherever you want to add a little modern elegance to your home decor style. For less than $2, come on now. This next DIY begins with these 2 metal candle holders from Dollar Tree that I am going to take outside and spray paint with this white Rust-Oleum paint and primer, which I will link for you below. I used a white gloss because that was what I had on hand, but you could easily go matte with this too. Next, I had these 2 different height glass vases from Dollar Tree, and I just liked the way the 2 sizes look side by side together, and my candle holders fit into both of them. Now, I had some different colors of rocks from Dollar Tree, but ultimately I decided to go with an all-white look for this project. Placed the candle holder into one of the vases, and I filled the vase up about 1/3 of the way with the over the candle holder with the white rocks, just using my hands and sort of evening everything out as I went along. I placed one of those small white votive candles from Dollar Tree on top of the candle holder, and then I repeated the exact same thing with the other vase and the candle holder. And these are my white rock and glass candle holders. So elegant. I'm picturing these being perfect as a summer centerpiece, or, not to get too far ahead of myself here, but how gorgeous would these be on a winter white tablescape? Upscale, classy, and ridiculously easy to make. What's not to love about that? For this next DIY, I'm using a total of 37 of these small wood cubes that come in a pack from Dollar Tree. I separated 9 of the cubes. I really just picked out the darkest wood ones that I saw. I'm going to make them even darker using some folk art antique wax, which I will link for you below. I did paint 10 of them, even though I only needed 9, because you guys know I like extras. I painted all the sides of each of the cubes using each of the 9 cubes using a dry paper towel to rub off the excess wax. Then I lined up the rows I needed to glue together. I had 16 cubes that were the natural color wood, and I'm using them to make 4 legs that are 4 cubes tall. So I lined up the cubes first to make sure that they were all going to be the same height, because you know sometimes those Dollar Tree wood items can be a little wonky size-wise. So I lined them up just to check the height. Then, using some super glue, wood glue from Dollar Tree, I glued together 4 rows of 4 cubes, and those are going to be the legs. And next, I start to assemble the body of the riser, and yes, spoiler alert, we're making a riser. The body consists of 3 rows of 5 cubes, alternating dark wood and natural color wood, as you can see the layout right here while I glue them together. You could also always pause the video, lay out your cubes the exact same way that I have mine laid out, so that basically we are starting with the gluing with the 3 rows of 5 alternating color cubes. Then we move on to gluing 2 rows of 3 cubes, also alternating colors as you can see right here. And again, pause the video if you need to. It is 3 rows of 5 and 2 rows of 3. Then I glue the 3 rows of 5 together, just like you can see me do here, as we start to make something that's going to resemble a checkerboard. And again, you can pause the video if you need to see exactly where everything goes. Then I glue 1 row of 3 in the middle of each side of the little mini checkerboard that we've made, following the same alternating dark and light pattern as you can see me doing right here. Lastly, we're going to add the legs to our riser. So the body is basically upside down, and since the legs are a natural wood color, we're going to want to attach them each to a darker wood cube so that we can still follow the checkerboard pattern that we've created. So I use the same wood glue and attach each of the 4 legs to the middle of each of the 4 sides, and hopefully that makes sense to you. And this is our geometric wood cube riser. I think this is so cool looking and fun to look at. Definitely add some visual interest to anything you add to it. Good for a small candle or succulent, or even just as a decorative item on its own on a shelf or a table. Quick, easy, and looking like it's so much more than it is. Seems like a winner in my book. For this next DIY, we're using 2 small clay pots from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to distress paint them using this folk art chalk paint in the color Oatmeal, which I will link for you below. I'm using a dry chip brush, and I'm just very sparingly painting them. I want to really lighten up the terracotta color and make the clay pots look very old and kind of worn out. And I do the same technique on both pots. And really, there are no mistakes with this, as Bob Ross says, only happy accidents. And this technique is very, very forgiving. Then I use this same technique with a new dry chip brush and some folk art antique wax. And I am sparingly painting over the chalk paint just a little bit, but this time I'm just trying to give the pots a little bit of an antique, or basically dirty look, like they've been buried in the soil for years and years, or something kind of like that. I want to embellish both of the pots, so I grabbed this leaf silicone mold that I got on Amazon, which I will link for you below. I'm going to fill the smaller leaf mold with some hot glue to use as an embellishment on the pots. I like using hot glue in my clay molds because it dries quickly, but more importantly, the embellishments are then flexible when they're dry, unlike clay. And since our pots are round, it's just really helpful to be able to bend the leaves around them. I fill this same mold 4 different times so that I have 4 leaves, which is 2 for each pot. I also like to give my hot glue embellishments a nice white base coat, and the quickest way to do that is with spray paint. I used the Rust-Oleum paint and primer spray to do that. I like to use the sticky side of a piece of packing tape to hold my embellishments in place while I spray paint them. Just a helpful hint from me. Once the spray paint is dry, I peel the 4 leaves off of the packing tape, and I want to paint them to look like 3-dimensional leaves. I am using Decor Hauser light green paint first, and I'm going to link that for you below, and a small brush to paint all the actual little leaves a nice light green base coat. And I want to be sure to get the sides of each of those little leaves, because again, this embellishment gives a little bit of a 3D effect. So I want all the sides to be covered and for none of that white paint to show through. To add even more dimension and depth to the leaves, I am using this Decor Light Avocado, which I will link for you below. It's kind of a darker brownish green, and I'm using a very small detail brush to emphasize the edges and some of the little deep grooves inside of the leaves, which overall is also going to help that 3D leaf effect that we are going for. To paint the stems, I decided to use this Deco Art Raw Umber, which is a very dark brown, and I will link it for you below. And again, I use a small detail brush, and I'm going to paint the stems on each of the 4 leaves, and making sure to really cover those deep sides of the stem with the paint so that none of the white base coat is showing through, and so that our leaves look much more authentic and 3-dimensional. Next, I use some hot glue to attach our hot glue embellishments, because what better way to attach hot glue than to use more hot glue? I figure out where I want to place both the leaves on both pots, and then little by little I use the hot glue to attach them to both of the pots. And just a note here, you can also just use the tip of your glue gun to melt the hot glue on the back of the embellishments themselves and sort of make them self-adhesive, if that makes sense. But I usually find that for whatever reason, they stick better to things when you add some additional fresh hot glue to the back. That's just my opinion on it. You do whatever works for you. I stuffed some paper down into the pots and then covered them with the little moss I got at Dollar Tree, and I add a medium-sized pillar candle, also from Dollar Tree, on top of the moss. Then I add a little bit more moss around the candle to kind of hang over the edge of the pot, and I'm going to do the same thing on both of the pots. And these are my clay pot candle holders, and for the sake of this reveal, let's just pretend there are 2 white candles here instead of 1 marble colored candle, because I could not for the life of me find a second white candle, so please work with me here. Picture them both white. I think this is such a natural, neutral, and earthy look that would be fabulous outside on a patio, and it's even, dare I say it, giving me some very fall and autumn vibes here. Oh my gosh, fall is coming, you guys. It'll be here soon. And as usual, I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments which one of these cheap to chic, high-end, everyday home decor DIYs was your favorite and why. I love hearing from all of you. And if you've enjoyed this DIY video, there's another one waiting for you. Just click the link on your screen for more Medicated Housewife DIYs. Thank you for watching, and until next time, my name is Sarah. I'm the Medicated Housewife, and crafting is my medication.